So when it comes to Roger Markby Nelson Toll and his dealings with me, he's gone into delve, I'm aware, into with a view to reinforcing his Luke's a homo case. I've mentioned this before, but I wondered if I would be called a poof less at work if I started to turn up to staff meetings wearing cosmetics, and they would stop. They even stopped eye contact without words for any disconcerting amount of time. So it felt like a win. But he'll look into, essentially my mother can't excuse him, sadly, because she's under, in I could have taken her to court a long time ago. Said I supported a fifth wedding. Walked her down the aisle. But, and while I understand it would not be up to her to, well, actually, with all the things she would say and pray about, forgiving sins as we forgive those who sin against us, and being an operating theatre nurse, there are it's questionable should she have gone and ensured that paternity was equally met. Now, I could defend her even if she was to say it's too much for me emotionally. Then it therefore then would fall to contacting or petitioning the courts. But yeah, Roger can't. I don't need to say any more in those directions. Roger Toll can't call me a homo without him being courted by me as a prospective mate, or him being taking over my paternity and becoming my daddy. So it's yeah, it's prosecution either way. His face, I've thought about this, and I thought, well, if you took who knows what rules these Freemasons have, but down where they work, it could be that, like, in their efforts to harmonize creation and evolution, like the gods wielded Darwinian evolution, and to the tune of magically creating the human form. So it's an honor if a dog, like a thoroughbred sort of fast-paced dog, squats as to shit, but into a mold, and then as the dog is beginning to get back up on all fours from taking the shit, it kind of rounds off from the squat, rather. The dog takes a shit while getting back up from the squat, so that it provides that roundness that you see on Roger's nose. It's earlier theories about him looking upskirt of Snow White's punana, and growing the face of one of the seven dwarves. I think there's really more to it because yeah, what kind of idiots um, sustain religious discrimination proactivity in unison with scientific judgments, and without thinking that they're going to be disrespectful towards the Human Rights Act and the Constitution of the Commonwealth, something disgracefully, speechlessly offensive, and simply have their discretion and their locality, secluded locality where they hide as as their excuse, somewhere to hide while researching, plus a religion that is secret, and you're telling yourself constantly it's we're unifying all the other religions. What would it take to unify if these religions can't get together amongst themselves and agree on one definition of Christianity, and so they expand out into 50 denominations of Christianity? You can't have a meeting. You can't have a meeting with a panel of 10 Muslims and say, now let's come out with the definitive definition of Islam based on the one true way of understanding the Quran and the Hadith. You can't sit down a panel of members of Judaism and say, okay, there's no Messiah here yet. We all get that much, but is it all just about the Torah, the golden rule? Don't do to others that which is repulsive to you, while standing on one leg and spinning around to help commit it to memory, and the rest are all just details? Or is there more to Judaism too? You won't be able to sit these panels down and have them debate these questions without watching them expand out into more and more denominations of their respective religions. And so Roger Toll unifying them, he's locked at the start point, which is the growth story of where I'm convinced pedophilia comes from, if it's revered by priests and by biblical scholars, and that's the reproductive process from Adam and Eve down to the next generation. And I don't even want to say I don't want to call them the next generation, because I love Star Trek. I want to call them let me think. Batch Wino Helmets Yet edition 1 to 1.5 to 2, depending on the technicalities of your debate. But you have it left that it was down to after Cain murdered Abel, that it's down to Cain, Adam, and Eve to populate the human race. So either way, whatever they did, their kids had sex with one another, or with parents, or both, and however you go about it, it's a sexually disgusting story. But that you're left with those three characters, Cain, Adam, and Eve, is why I also think it was the Bible's committee, the committee that assembled the Bible, chose to display the original Gospel Mark, which shows evidence of an abduction, murder, suicide, and conceal it with three other Gospels, because they had three sexually sickened minds at the start of the story in Genesis. Jesus claimed to be redeeming everyone back to that perfect state of original inbred perfection. And so they cover up the content of Mark with the content in Matthew, Luke, and John, and make the whole death of Jesus seem a voluntary feat. So anyway, the